I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Today is a bit of a heavy day. The holidays are coming up, and so if you want to skip this, because today's video is multiple women that birthed children that made horrific decisions. And so I just wanted to prepare you all for that. If you're feeling kind of heavy, if this will be a bit too much, we're not going to go into all the details of each of these cases. I do want to cover Chloe Driver's verdict. We are also going to take a look at the sentencing of Leilani Simon. We're not going to look at all of it. I plan to stream for about an hour to maybe an hour and a half today. We're also going to take a look at Tiffanie Lucas. That was a case that I really didn't talk about. And Lori Vallow had a status update. And then also Susan Smith had a parole hearing. And I did watch. So Dr. G Explains did a phenomenal video where he went over some of her body language from that. And so check that out if you would like. I appreciate each and every one of you all so much. Thank you to the mods in the chat. I see Karen and I also see Sarah, and we are going to dive right in. So I covered the Chloe Driver case pretty extensively because this case came out of Georgia and it was an insanity case. And so her mental health was the main feature of this case. And there were three experts that all felt that she could meet the legal criteria for insanity at the time of the offense. And it was up to the jury. And the only rebuttal evidence that was submitted were her phone calls from a few months after the incident. And I mentioned on my stream that I don't think that she meant to survive the incident with herself and her child. I did not think that she expected to survive. And the whole case was just so whoa. But legally, now if she had said that she thought her child was something, because the state said, at what point was she afraid of her child? That in Georgia, it's almost a self-defense claim when somebody is claiming insanity, that if their belief had been true, what was that one belief that if it had been true would have justified her act? And there was no single thing. The expert said, well, it was this cluster of things and it was all of this, but there was no one single thing. The jury deliberated, I think it was somewhere around maybe 2.5 hours. Like it was not a long deliberation because they had the evening on Friday and then they came in on Monday morning and they came back with their verdict. We had a verdict very early. I just need to parent for a second. Come on in. Do you have a question? Yes. Mhm. Okay. Can you go in the closet and get another thing of toilet paper, or you can grab some toilet paper out of mommy and daddy's bathroom, okay? Emergency for toilet paper. And then please close my office door, okay? Please know that when I parent, my husband is home as well, but yes. Did you find some? Okay. And so but there's some in the bathroom too. Come back if you need some, okay? Ah. And boy, okay. So with this case, Chloe Driver, I thought if I had been on the jury, I would have said guilty but mentally ill. So in Georgia, that is an option, and it will be up to the Department of Correction if she gets, it'll be up to the Department of Corrections, the type of treatment that she receives. And so because she could, if at this time, if she needs inpatient care or whatever treatment she might need, it'll be up to the Department of Corrections, but she will also serve a jail sentence as well. If she had been found not guilty by reason of insanity, she would have went to a state hospital and she would have stayed there until the court deemed her sane or that she could be out on her own. Her sentencing will be in December because this was just the verdict. I do just want to watch her reaction to the verdict. She had showed some emotion during the trial, and so I just wasn't sure what to expect. So just in case anyone mentioned it, the foreperson is about to read the verdict.
For each count below, we the jury found the defendant, count 1, malice murder, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 2, felony murder, aggravated assault, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 3, felony murder, cruelty to children in the first degree, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 4, aggravated assault, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 5, cruelty to children in the first degree, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. So found this 20th day of November, 2024.
So she was found guilty but mentally ill on all counts. And so yes, we will be covering, I think that might be case number 3 if I have things lined up correct, or it might be 4. It'll be either the third or fourth. But I don't know if they would have given her something before. Like I think she was prepared for this. Guilty but mentally ill was an option. The jury did not deliberate for that long. I think she was likely prepared for this. All right. Let me know if y'all have any more questions about that case. We are going to shift over to Leilani Simons, and she never admitted what happened. She has continued to say that because even her family spoke for her, and they think that the father of one of her children who was in the home may have been involved, but there was no evidence that he was. There is evidence of her putting something in a dumpster that they believe, okay, so trigger warnings, all the trigger warnings, they believe was the body of her child. She's the one that lied and said that she went to get like some medicine or something, some Oragel, because she had had some type of tooth surgery. She's the one that really all the evidence pointed to her, and she lied time after time after time. And she has never admitted what happened. During this hearing, they did so she because the state her child's body, okay, so all the trigger warnings, her child's body is evidence and hasn't been released back to the family yet. Because if she did, if she was going to appeal the charges, because the state was unable to determine the state was unable to determine the cause of death. They like so this was a very, very triggering case. Yes, she had a substance issue. I believe that the night of this, she went and got something. Pause for parenting. Yes? Did you find it? Yes. So stay right there. Yep. Did you find it?
Yes, but I also want to ask you something.
Go on ahead and ask me something.
So, we need more Minecraft stuff because I'm running out.
Do you want to put those on your Christmas list? Because we'll probably do your Christmas list. Okay. Okay.
And also, I also like my modern house.
Yep. Okay.
Okay?
Can you write down any more questions you have so you can ask me before we do the Christmas decorations today? Okay? All right. I love you. If it's an emergency, please come back. All right. And I don't mind these little parenting interruptions on a day where we are covering these like, oh my gosh, ridiculous cases. I see a lot of questions about Chloe's mother, who she admitted that she has her own history of substances. I do not, and her mother seemed to kind of blame herself. Okay, maybe we should play a little bit of her mom's statement. The state, really, the people that spoke on behalf of Quentin. So Quentin was Leilani's son, and that's the individual. So he was, I think it was 20. He was in I felt like he was 20 months. It was around 20 months old or so. He was a toddler, and his remains were found in a landfill. And she reported him missing in October of 2022, and she was convicted. So she was convicted, and this was her sentencing. I covered some of her brother's testimony. I forget if it was in the middle of Sarah Boone's trial. We had a bit of a lull, and I switched over to her trial in the midst of one of the Sarah Boone videos when I was doing those all day streams. Um, because it was almost a miracle that they were able to recover him at all. And Leilani did have a substance issue, and the state just had this witness talk about the impact that this case had and just some of the details. They also talked about some of her phone calls. They made allegations that Leilani is having communications with somebody that is a child, like, is on a registry, and that she is, like, talking to people that that are not into. She continues to deny that she did anything because she was facing life in prison or life with the possibility of parole. And I think the judge made the decision that the judge made because just to make sure that nothing happened, because she can appeal this the sentence. And so one of Quentin's babysitters came and spoke. Um, I believe her brother spoke for her. Um, yes. So maybe he spoke twice. Did he speak twice? Because her aunt. So I believe Leilani was raised a lot of her life by her aunt due to, and this is all stuff that came out due to Leilani's mom's substance issues. Okay. I would like to play a little bit of this and we will do this. Um, I will come back to this one at the end, okay? Because I have some general thoughts. I have some general thoughts about that one. Please don't support her. I don't. I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts about that one. But I want to focus on this one. Oh, okay. So trigger warnings. This is going to be emotional testimony, but I feel like Leilani's mom is blaming herself for some of this, and that can happen when there's codependence. I don't like it was now, yes, L- Leilani's mom had her own substance issue, but Leilani made her decisions. And it looks like all the evidence points to, and Leilani has been found guilty of unaliving her son. And let's just play this part.
Please stand here.
All the trigger warning.
The information you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Come over here. Put yourself over here.
So I just want to clarify. So I think her aunt raised her and views her as her daughter. So I think her aunt, due to um I think Billy Joe is her birth mother. That's how that's what I believe. I'm going to skip forward a little bit because they weren't sure if she was going to read her statement or if she was going to just start talking. And so I believe she's just going to start talking.
I know drugs has taken and had a huge impact on our entire lives. Even as Leilani's childhood, I failed her as a mom. I allowed addiction to take over my life at a young age. And you and your brother were just babies.
And so the mother is talking about how her own addiction had an impact on Leilani's life. And I believe, y'all correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I believe the children were supposed to be in the mother's like in Leilani's mother's custody. I believe there was like an open CPS case, and the children were supposed to be in her mother's care. That's that's my understanding. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But my understanding and so because the boyfriend and Leilani and the children were living in Billy Joe's house, but Billy Joe was away. Um I don't know that she was aware. I don't know. Okay, good. So that's correct. Yeah, like and really I get why she might blame herself some, but, ugh, as soon as so, like, when her mother left, Leilani went and got drugs and did these things, and there was testimony that Leilani did not like Quentin, because 'cause they're gonna portray it as though that was a lie and that, she treated all the children the same. They're gonna say all those things, and I don't know. I don't know, but, I think Leilani was mad at Quentin's father. Like, it seemed like there were issues between Leilani and the father of Quentin, because the boyfriend at the time was the father of her daughter. And, it seemed like she regretted, like, thought that the children had ruined her body, and this was why she couldn't be loved. I did feel like if she did have, a psychological evaluation, they would likely find, some borderline type traits. She seemed to have a severe fear of rejection, abandonment. She would threaten to harm herself during those times, and so those were just some of the thoughts that I got. And in my personal opinion, my personal thoughts, okay, was that the family minimized that part a little. That's just my thoughts. I think she had a substance problem, but outside of the substance issue, so I don't know, and I do think she struggled to pay for things, and um uh I I don't know if the family would admit that she likely put her own needs above the needs of her children. And that's what people in active addiction do. Someone in active addiction struggles to put the needs of their child first. We're going to play a little bit more of this.
And you lived with my sister.
This part made Leilani very tearful. And the prosecutor mentioned she did not get emotional when pictures of her trigger warnings. Okay. I'm doing giving all the ones I can. So the child was not together. Okay. So when they were showing all these, she did not show emotion at this time. She's going to show a lot of emotion now. In my personal opinion, my personal thoughts, because we're here for my thoughts, she was crying for herself. That's how it felt to me. It felt like these tears were about her situation, what she was going through. Poor me. Like this was about her. This didn't seem to be about her child, in my personal opinion or thoughts.
I made sure you were okay. And through those times, it was still really hard on you because you wanted your mom. Just like I know they're going to want their mom. When you come to live with me, I'd already changed my life. And I'd
So I think so. Her mother's saying when she came, so when Leilani came to live with her mother, it sounds like her mother was sober.
been working really hard. But I had changed my addiction from drugs to work. And I still neglected your needs.
I get why, but like if Leilani had taken responsibility for her actions, I would understand this more. And I do think the family thinks that the the boyfriend was involved somehow. Uh like it's just um because the substance comes first. So Bookworm says addicts are self-absorbed by definition, right? And so in active addiction, that thing that fills that addiction becomes the primary thing. Okay. Mama Bear, this was, and I feel for Billy Joe. I want them to make sure that Leilani is accepting responsibility for her own actions because it didn't seem like she did. It did not feel that way. And I'm glad that we're also going to talk about the Tiffanie Lucas case because in that case, Tiffanie Lucas, she does, it sounds like there was substances involved as well. And she does accept responsibility for her actions. So let's go on ahead and switch over to that case. All the trigger warnings again. This is a really, really sad case. Okay. Today's a heavy day. Okay. I warned you all. It's it's a heavy day. Okay. Um, this is Maurice Baker Jr. and Jaden Howard. And their mother, Tiffany, um, y'all know me in names, Tiffanie Lucas, she there's no other word. So the word the news has been using, she like she pew-pewed them in the head. Like she executed them. And there doesn't seem to be any reason. Um, she admitted to doing that and unaliving her two young sons. She was sentenced to prison on Friday. Her Maurice was 6 years old and Jaden was 9 years old. And she was arrested immediately after the event because after it happened, she ran to her neighbor's house. And the neighbor called the police. Um uh And yes, I saw a question from Vanessa Lilly, and uh, that's a that's a that's a tough one. Um, I'm gonna yeah. So I might save that one for when we get to that case. I don't know that I have a ton of thoughts on that one. Um, but for this case, she avoided the trial and entered a plea of guilty. So this case did not go to trial. What I mean by that is when it came time for her to plea something, she pled guilty and avoided a trial, and the sentencing date was set. And because she pled guilty, based on this article, she's not able to appeal the sentence. And wow. One of the who is this? Do. I think this is the judge. Okay, so let's go on ahead and play the sentence. So the prosecution is going to talk first, and then the judge is going to give a sentence. I think this is the father of the children. He spoke. Um, she had some people that spoke on her behalf. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I don't believe she And then multiple family members of the children spoke as well. I think aunts and I think multiple aunts spoke. Okay, so let's go on ahead and listen to this part. Closed captioning. Let's go.
Were heartlessly taken by the person who should have been loving them and protecting them, their mother. In the space of a few terrible moments, the promising futures of Maurice and Jaden were forever snuffed out. And this horrible crime shattered the lives of the boys' family and friends, who have all been robbed, as you've heard today, of the opportunities to celebrate Christmas, celebrate birthdays, and the joy of watching Jaden and Maurice grow up. And there are young children in this family that were particularly protected. You heard that some of them cry themselves to sleep at night with some of the young men's stuffed animals. They no longer have a beloved friend or playmate. Tiffanie Lucas not only murdered Jaden and Maurice, but she forever scarred the lives of their family and friends, both adults and children. And I thank Ms. Baker for providing this. But as the victims all too well know, all that is left now are the memories and pictures of Jaden and Maurice. They are forever lost to their friends and family. And for this reason, the Commonwealth believes that the only just sentence that can be imposed is a sentence of life on each count of capital murder.
And I forgot to say, so on Leilani, so the last case that we did, I forgot to say she got life with the possibility of parole. So that was her sentence. The judge did give her life with the possibility of parole. We're about to listen to the judge speak on the Tiffanie Lucas case.
Thank you.
There had been references made by the defense to the defendant's association with God while she was acting. This is not a question of violation of the laws of God or any religious belief. This is a question of violations of the laws of this Commonwealth, particularly statutory murder, which provides for a violation when someone with the intent to cause the death of another person causes the death of that person. Ms. Lucas, to her credit, has come before the court and has admitted to her conduct. She has entered a plea of guilty to 2 counts of murder that involves the intentional taking of a life. Now, the court has considered mitigating conditions, aggravating circumstances as argued by the parties. The court has considered the contents of the file as well as recent filings that detail the defendant's position. The court will note that the defendant's act of killing were intentional and resulted in multiple deaths, in particular 2 children under 12 years of age. The law of this Commonwealth is clear. The statutory penalty for each of these counts is 20 to 50 years or life imprisonment. Mr. Donnelly has testified as to parole eligibility. Now, what I will say is this: Kentucky's method of incarceration for felony offenses is what's referred to as indeterminate sentencing. It can be somewhat difficult to follow if you don't deal with it every day. But ultimately, the court has to assume that the components of the judicial system, which includes the executive branch's parole board, will be followed to the law. So the duties and responsibilities of that board and what they do are to be determined by that board. This court has to assume they will do what is just and appropriate. What I have struggled with through this hearing today is a mother is more than the giving of life. It is providing food, clothing, shelter, but more importantly, love and security. cannot imagine the sheer horror these children must have experienced seeing their mother with a gun. The sheer horror that second child had as he heard the discharge of that weapon for the first child. And maybe even both of them seeing their mother pull the trigger, taking their life. At this time, the court will state for the record, the court has considered the probation pre-sentence report, arguments of counsel, the contents of the file, and no sufficient reason having been shown why judgment not be pronounced and sentence imposed. In case number 23 CR 404, Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Tiffanie Lucas, as to count 1, the court will adjudge the defendant guilty of the offense of murder and fix her sentence at life in prison. On count 2, the court will adjudge the defendant guilty of the offense of murder and fix her sentence at life in prison. This time, the court will order that the Sheriff's Department deliver the defendant to the custody of the Corrections Cabinet for service of her sentence of imprisonment. That's all for today. Court will be adjourned.
All right. So I'm just going to breathe a little. I might just make it just me. Just taking some breaths because that case was so heavy. She might have tried for insanity, but it sounds like there was substance. There was a history, like it came out during some of the people that spoke on behalf of the children. It sounds like there might have been a substance issue or something. She seemed to like posting about her children because it her social media made things look perfect, but life was not perfect. And that's why I am careful about what I show as far as family. So and I didn't show a picture because like like she was she was beautiful. Like she was and I don't mean to say that like pretty, I don't know, but like she people might have looked at her and thought that she had it all together, or they might have seen her Instagram or her social media and want to be a parent like her. Like she had um, dressed the kids up for Halloween and taken pictures. But what you see on TV is not always what happens. And so it sounds like in Kentucky, it's an undeterminate sentence. So I think that'll be up to the parole board. Y'all know I don't know. I don't know the law part. So I was listening to the judge just like y'all. So it sounds like it might be she got 2 life sentences. I saw somewhere that she might be eligible for parole in 20 years, but I don't I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I don't know. Because of the heinousness of what she did, and then depending on her behavior, what kind of happens with her in jail, I think that will decide where things go from there. Because a lot of people might have looked at her and thought she had the perfect family, and so that's why people have to be so careful. I don't post my partner, my husband, a lot because first of all, he doesn't want to. He doesn't like that. Like that would cause issues if and not in a bad way, but he's a private person. And so, like, I post things about myself. I post general things about our family, normally not with like a picture of him, but I respect his social media boundaries. And you all know, I think there was one video where like my son was like half a second of my son's face on camera, and I went in and edited that out. And it can be, I think boundaries on social media are so important, so important. I can't tell y'all the number of people that like posted all these great pictures, and then all of a sudden you hear that they're getting divorced, or that it's like, oh, like what? Okay. And it's nothing wrong with that, but it can be a surprise to everybody if it's like, oh, I thought everything was okay. You really never know what's really going on in someone's life just by looking at social media. All right. So we are going to hop into Lori. They're calling her Lori Daybell. I don't know if she legally changed her name to Daybell, but Lori Vallow-Daybell. We are going to switch over to her case. She really wants to represent herself, and I think this judge is just being careful. And it sounds like she had Lori met with a competency evaluator briefly, but it sounds like they didn't do the full evaluation. So this is in Arizona. So Lori Vallow is in Arizona on trial for this is related to Charles Vallow and also the attempted capital M of Brandon Boudreaux. I like that name, Boudreaux. It just sounds pretty. I don't know. Very French, very French. So they are saying, so she is accused of conspiring with, oh, Chad Daybell. Okay, this is I'm just reading this, and her brother, who is not alive anymore, Alex Cox, to unalive her estranged husband, and he was shot and killed, and so Charles Vallow, and let's hop into this part. All right. So Lori wants to represent herself, and she has a defense lawyer. I think she has 2 defense lawyers that are trying to be released from her case. Not in just a like she wants to represent herself, and they don't see a reason why she shouldn't be able to, but the court wants to make sure that she is competent to be able to do so, especially with her history of being found incompetent in another trial and her diagnosis. They just want to make sure. So let's go on ahead and play this here. Waiting around for so the sound on this isn't great, okay? So I won't interrupt this one as much. The sound is not great here.
Dr. Hernandez is going to get us anywhere. And we certainly don't need it to meet all of the evidence that is required in the count. And I think one other, the last thing is we don't see this with the state. How often do we see the state trying to keep a client into Rule 11 proceedings? So we now have Your Honor, who was concerned about the Rule 11 and didn't necessarily think it was appropriate. We have said that. Dr. McGady has now said that. Commissioner Motorosian, who was willing to stipulate to her competency. All of these people who are saying we believe she's competent, you should withdraw Rule 11, withdraw previous counsel's Rule 11, allow Ms. Vallow to be pro per. If at some point you or the state see something that is concerning, we can certainly put her in Rule 11 again. Competency is fluid. Again, we've never seen the state fight to keep someone in competency proceedings. It's usually the complete opposite. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, there's a big distinction from the LeCount case in this defendant's case because according to prior counsel's motion for Rule 11, she was previously found incompetent in another jurisdiction and put into some sort of restoration process.
And then found competent and tried.
Correct.
All we're saying is that where we're at right now, you asked us to come back and give you some evidence of competency. I think we have more than provided that at this point. And at this point, we're just delaying any speedy trial rights, any fundamental right to represent herself.
All right. Well, if she were allowed to represent herself prior to that, I'd have to go through a colloquy with her and get some information, and based on that information could still refer her for a Rule 11 depending on her answers to those questions.
Sure, and that was supposed to be my last point. Was we haven't even done that colloquy with her, so let's do that and see where we end up.
All right. Well, ma'am, I am going to ask you a series of questions, and that could inform what happens next. Have you previously, in any other criminal proceeding, been referred for a competency determination?
Just say yes.
Yes, previously.
All right. And were you ever previously determined to be incompetent at any point?
Not to my understanding. So my understanding was that the judge did the same thing that you did. In abundance of caution, let's go ahead and put her in and see. And I came out competent.
Well, when you say you came out competent, was there a period of time where you were ruled as incompetent?
I would say technically they did do that. That's how they put you into the program in that state. Correct.
How long were you in that program?
I was in that program for about 10 months.
Okay. And what types of things did they give you classes? What types of things did they speak to you about where you went through some process where you were later deemed competent?
I did go through a process of several things, several classes, competency class, and meeting with doctors and evaluators, many evaluators.
Are you aware of any diagnosis that you were given?
Yes.
And what is that?
We're going to object to that, especially with this being public and not sealed.
It's not relevant to this determination.
Okay, well then.
This was almost 2 years ago.
Then I'm going to keep her in the Rule 11 process to determine that. And
Approach and discuss with you without it being on the without public on the record, but not public.
you mean as far as the diagnosis?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, so
So what ends up happening is the judge does still keep her under Rule 11, which is that she needs to go through a competency assessment, especially before, if and when she's ever allowed to represent herself. Lori Vallow, I don't know why, but I think they're trying to not get the diagnosis to be public before they have a jury. I think that might be what they're trying to keep out. But all you have to do is Google it. And Lori Vallow has been diagnosed with delusional disorder, with religiosity or something like that, along with she's also been diagnosed with histrionic and borderline personality features. Those are the diagnoses that are from her past evaluations, and her attorney is doing her job. So if her attorney seemed like her attorney is just doing what the client wants, Lori wants to represent herself, but she could barely answer those questions appropriately because Lori's sitting here like, oh no, I wasn't found incompetent. That was just the process. No, ma'am. It would not take 10 months to restore competency if you were competent. If you were competent and you understood who the judge was, the role of the judge, what your charges were, the fact that this court does have jurisdiction over you and it's not just God. Remember, like Lori said some things at her sentencing where like she doesn't believe men can't judge her. Like it's only God can judge her. And like what happens here almost doesn't really matter. Like she made some very odd statements at her sentencing, and if she represents herself, it will be, in my opinion, I think it'll be a bit of she has nothing to lose. She might as well, but 'cause she's already serving life sentences. I wish they would just do a plea deal with her, but I think they want to make sure to get justice for Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux. Like I'm glad that they are fighting for this justice for them. Because she's already serving life sentences in Utah. Y'all know me and being places and names. Like it's and I think I don't know what she would say if she had the mic. If she has the mic, it is going to be whoa. It's gonna be Idaho. Thank you. Y'all know me and places and names. It felt very Utah, but it was Idaho. All right. So we have one more. We are going to take a look at Susan Smith. Her let me share my screen. I think I stopped sharing. Yep. We are going to take a look at Susan Smith's parole hearing. She is another horrific case. She was convicted of unaliving her two sons in a South Carolina lake in 1994. She claimed a black man had carjacked her with the boys inside, and yeah, that because I remember when this happened, because I remember hearing family and friends talk about it. I was so 94, I was 82. I was like 12 in 94. I mean, nope, older. Yeah, yeah. I was 12, and I remember hearing all the family joke like, "What? Like a black man stole your what? No!" Like everybody was like, "No, this, no, ma'am, that, no, no." Um, but unfortunately, that ended up derailing some of their investigation. They did end up figuring out what happened. She was convicted. Some jail calls and things came out, and somebody asked a question. Let me go to this highlighted question because I wasn't aware of this. So it was, what do you think of Susan Smith having an affair with the stepfather who harmed her as a teen? um that can be a confusing time for children, and she doesn't come off as a mentally well person, in my opinion. She seems to try to get people's attention using her, like, through relationships, because I think she's had multiple relationships with people in jail. She does not accept responsibility, in my opinion, for her actions and minimizes things, and we're going to hear that. So she was able to speak at her parole hearing.
Out of a horrific situation. I want to thank you for your time. I know I've taken a lot of time today. I would just ask if you would please consider her for release.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, and we appreciate all
Yes,
your
ma'am.
comments.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for the very detailed packet that you presented. Ms. Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
what would you like to tell us today?
First of all, I want to say how
So she's going to get very emotional. My personal thoughts about this, okay? We are going to watch it. My personal thoughts about this is that she is crying for herself. Hey, Tanika, that Susan Smith, I think a lot of this is about her. I think she's trying to act like she has some remorse. Like it didn't come out, and I don't know that there were actually tears. So a lot of people were trying, and the feed isn't good. So that excuse me, there could have been real tears. We just can't see them, but I didn't feel it personally.
very sorry. I am.
It's okay.
And so right before this hearing, she got a violation at the jail because she did an interview, and she's going to claim that she wasn't aware of what the purpose of the interview. I don't know. She's going to say some stuff, but she got in trouble for a media interview that she gave.
Okay, Susan, just talk with us.
I know that what I did was horrible.
It escalated fast.
And I would give anything if I could go back and change it. And I love Michael and Alice with all my heart.
Ms. Smith, were you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
So I'm not laughing because it's funny, okay? Because right now she's giving a statement, and whoever the woman on the parole board is, like she's like, let's go ahead and get to these questions. Let's go ahead and get to these questions. Whoever's asking the questions, I could be wrong, but it seems like they really weren't feeling it. So let me look up in the background why that was a violation, because I am not sure. I am not sure why what she did violated something. So let me look it up.
The night that you murdered your children?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Your attorney talked about working with mental health. Is that helpful to you?
Ma'am,
Mr. Thomas,
I didn't hear you.
Mr. Thomas talked about the fact that you were working with mental health. And my question is that helpful to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that
All right. So we're going to take a break from this for just a second, because it looks like she was caught receiving money from a documentary filmmaker. So I think that's the part that was the disciplinary violation. I don't think it's because she talked to them. It's because it looks like because the filmmaker gave her money. So she lost her phone, tablet, and canteen privileges for 90 days. She was eligible for parole, and this incident was brought up because of that. The violation is the first disciplinary sanction since 2015. She had been previously disciplined for substance use, and she was with the prison guard. So that's what I meant by like, Susan. Okay. Okay. Let's keep it going.
that's something that you would be willing to continue with on the outside if you were granted parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Smith, your crime took a lot of resources from the law enforcement community. What, if anything, would you say to the folks who worked so hard to find your children if you had the opportunity to speak to them today?
Especially the fact that she lied, because like if there were Black men driving, like people could have gotten pulled over for no reason because she lied. She didn't just keep her mouth, say what she did, or keep her mouth shut. Like, don't lie.
That I'm sorry that I put them through that. I really, really am. And I'm especially sorry to the drivers that I had to find them. I wish I could take that back. I really do. I didn't lie to get away with it. I really didn't. I was just scared. I didn't know how I could tell the people that loved them that they would never see them again. I didn't know how I could tell David he couldn't see his sons again. And I'm sorry. I don't know. I know that's not enough. I know it's not, but I don't know. I know that's just how like words, but they come from my heart. They really do.
I don't feel it. Now it could be, I don't know. I personally don't feel it, but that's okay.
Right. One of the things that we review is your institutional record, and you've had some infractions throughout the years, some involving the use of some narcotics. Do you have any issues with drugs or alcohol at this point?
I don't. No, ma'am, I don't.
And you had a recent disciplinary infraction just a few months ago. So why should this board think that if we grant you parole that you're going to go out and follow the rules and the laws of society if you do not follow the rules within the institution?
Well, this last infraction, I was trusted the wrong person. This lady contacted me and I trusted her. I thought she was going to do a documentary on mental health. And I really am not guilty of what they charged me with. And I have filed.
You didn't accept the money? What do you mean? Okay.
An appeal on that charge. And as far as your question, I've never been in trouble before, and the things that I have been found guilty of in here have been just stupidity. I know I made a lot of mistakes in here, and I have learned from them. And before this last infraction, it had been 10 years, because I grew up and I knew that I needed to stop making dumb decisions, and I did. I knew it was time to grow up and do the right thing. I just made a lot of dumb choices and mistakes in here. So I know I've learned from those mistakes.
What do you feel is the most
And I'm not
important
gonna
thing
do
that
that.
you've learned while you've been incarcerated?
Ma'am,
What do you think is the most important thing that you have learned while you have been incarcerated?
that people are important, that
You had to be incarcerated for that? That people are important? That is weird. That's a weird thing to say. That people, for me personally, y'all can think, do you have to be incarcerated to know that? Is that a thing?
forgiveness and love, that family
Those sound like the things that she wants, forgiveness and love. I think that's what she wants. What have you learned?
is important, and that decisions we make not just affect us, they affect the people that we love. And not to take things or people for granted.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us today that wasn't in your packet or that has not already been said?
I would just like to say that I am a Christian, and God is a big part of my life, and I know He has forgiven me. And it is by His grace and mercy and I have a lot of faith, and I live by that every day. And I just ask that you show that same kind of mercy as well. And I guess, yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
And so the board voted, and it was denied. Let me see if I can. There we go. I can't see. Do I need my glasses? Is it because I don't have my glasses on? I don't think it's because I don't have my glasses on. Let's play. Okay. Yep. It's not my glasses. But the members of the board voted, and there we go.
Okay, that's why I did that. I thought that would help you out. Okay.
And like I said, it was denied. All right. Ooh, okay. So there is a case going around YouTube right now. Okay. This is all over YouTube. I don't recommend going to this. This is my own personal thoughts. Okay. The individuals in this. So this is, to my knowledge, this is a custody dispute. Like, this is a financial dispute. The woman here, she goes by Isis, and she goes by New Trophy Wife. She shared information on TikTok and YouTube trying to tell women how to find men that can make a lot of, like, that can take care of you And it's trigger warnings in this one for allegations of SA. And I'm holding my head because this one is a mess, because she can, and the video she did on YouTube has over 2 million views. So that's why I'm like, I wouldn't, and my personal thoughts, I've heard people talk about the video. I know what she alleges in her video. She says that she was changing her 2-year-old's diaper and noticed something. And then she talked with her 4-year-old daughter, and she's making allegations that her soon to be ex husband did something. But like, don't go to YouTube. So if all of that is true, if let's say all of, but and she says that she went to the hospital, she says that everybody's involved, but she went to YouTube and she made a GoFundMe. Okay. And I personally have issues with this. And so the soon to be ex husband's niece came forward and she made allegations that it was actually her son that did that he has a history of doing inappropriate things, and it was actually her son. I don't know what's true. I don't know what happened. Um, this has been all over YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, um, and uh, her advice to women is not good, because it's pretty much like how to trap a man. She makes statements like, if a man is too handsome, then like he's not going to be able to take care of you. It's a really ridiculous case. Like, it's not case, but like it's a bit of a mess. Uh I it's very messy. Um like I said, if all of that is true, go to the police, keep that information off social media. It should not be on social media at all. And in my opinion, it was all for clicks. In my own personal thoughts, because a $2 million video, like, that the video got over 2 million views. It like and she goes into details like they're and these are her children. You do not post any of that stuff on social media. You just don't. And so, ugh, I think this case is in Maryland. I will keep an eye on it, because I don't know if the husband, because if the husband has a job, like, her making these statements could affect like his ability to work. Like, this these allegations could have significant ramifications for him. Um, I- it's very messy. So I'm staying way out of that one. Um, Dr. G Explains did a phenomenal video on Susan Smith's parole denial. And this question says, why do people fake so much emotion? Is it a narcissistic behavior? And so, just my thoughts on that. I think she was trying to show remorse. I think people think remorse looks like tears. Um, but to me, she seemed to be crying for herself. It reminded me of when we watched Leilani and Simon. And to me, she was, when her mom was speaking, and her tears, to my personal thoughts, they seemed to be more self-centered and about herself. And so that's just what I saw. All right. Yeah. Like, and let's say something like that was true, you would not want to share that information about your child online. Like, you would not. You always protect kids. Her kids are too young to be able to understand. If I had to guess, I would guess that like a welfare agency is probably involved to investigate and make sure, just because these allegations have gotten so big. I'm pretty sure that that people are checking on those things. Lisa, that is correct, that a lack of insight can be common. Hey, you want the iPad? So come here, come here. So not your face. You can do your hand if you want to do your hand. Okay. You're gonna okay. Let me. You can do YouTube Kids. I'm almost done, so it might be about 10-15 minutes. So we are going to be doing holiday decorating today. Um, the YouTube is still up. So I still saw her YouTube up on here. Like I saw it. I still saw that video. I think she has gotten rid of some of her things. Does somebody have this available, Patricia Burns? Does somebody have jail calls between Jason and Z? Whoa, I'm gonna go to YouTube now. Did the phone calls from prison? Did somebody get them? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, we might have to listen to this together. Oh, okay. If any, okay, okay. So I'm gonna give whoever Jay. I'm gonna give. Did somebody get this first? All right. So I'm gonna share my screen, and I will make sure to give this person credit. Uh, oh, I have to share I have to present, I guess. Let me share screen. Whoa. This is so I have no clue what this is. Okay? But this is a phone call between Jason and Benjamin. Let's go.
Please remain on the line. Hold for acceptance.
Because that's who charges have been accepted. Okay. Let's go.
No real change. Howdy. Howdy. How's it going? No real change.
I heard, how's it going? No real change.
Can't really hear you. It's going. Very little change. I see. Yeah, I'm just hanging out here. There's a lot of code being displayed. So I'm just, I spent a lot of time just being still, really, really still today. Just trying to hold some space and just doing my best to produce some balance in this place.
So I think Jason, I think Benjamin is the one that's talking quietly, because I think Jason called him from jail, because that's how those calls work.
That's it. I just wanted to give you a quick call. They're gonna lock us down here soon, but just wanted to give you a quick buzz and.
Well, the only thing is sitting with it. I just wonder how big the circus tent really is.
Yeah, me too.
Apparently, Shayla heard Katie say to her,
They censored them down.
I didn't hear that line from her. She said that after I talked to her about what we said, and I was like, wait. Like, how big a circus are they trying to, how, oh my God. And then I remembered this business, and you might remember from way back that I kind of put out of mind. They got Angela Trathaway's ear for about 2 weeks, and then stopped talking to me, and we were in Sarasota directly after, and I received that call from Kendall. Do you remember all this?
Yeah.
And she said Wani's lawyer contacted her and wanted her to do all the stuff that she didn't want to do. Remember?
Okay.
The point was they were already all over this, playing this game back, so he just, who knows,
Yeah.
And I put it out of mind, but that was the whole thing with Landon. And then Lauren Paget shows up by March because of this whole news thread. People were chatting and tells anybody like that. Remember this whole business to contact parents or contact the lawyer?
Yes.
K-Bar from the Reddit things or whatever these secret places people were chatting. And so like there is a funnel, and that's when Eric and Renee stopped talking to me in that March. So
I think Eric and Renee are Chloe's parents. So Chloe Driver was the first case that we covered. Jason gave testimony, the most just off the wall, outrageous testimony. He was a witness in the case. This case involved a cult and a high demand group. Like it's Benjamin, Z, Brian. So that guy has 3 names: Brian, Benjamin, Z. Those are all the same person. He was the father of Chloe's baby. Chloe attempted to unalive herself. She did harm their daughter, and that's what she was on trial for. And she was found guilty, but mentally ill.
I'm just particularly disgusted and daunted because they just have no idea how big the circus is.
Sure.
I was talking to Jerry again.
Jerry? What did Jerry
He
say?
reflected that both the judge and Katie are pretty much just disgusted by this whole thing and want it to be over with. It just sort of implies that they know even more than they're saying about what it means about this fiasco. Like there might have been some cross back and forth. This is just making me not want to come at all. Like, I don't get it. I also want to come to get in touch with Katie Smart and just be like, is it too late for you guys just to call me as a witness? Like, what are we doing?
He wanted to be called as a witness. So I wonder if that meant that Z wanted to be called as a witness. So to me, what I'm hearing is because Jerry testified. Jerry was the individual. This happened at Jerry's house. And so what I was hearing in this is that Jerry had maybe wasn't talking to Benjamin as much. I don't know. This is hard to follow, but we're gonna listen.
But anyway, do you have anything?
I was going to say, if you did come and they tried to arrest you on that silly thing with Kyle, and you did pay a bond and you just put a squiggly line as your mark.
I'm laughing a little because Jason thinks he's so smart and can get away with so much, but he's the one that's been incarcerated multiple times. I think Brian Binyat, I think he stayed out of jail overall because he's a no-bad. He just keeps moving around. What?
For your signature on the bond, then you could later have that undone and say that you signed under duress, just so you know. I mean, you're obviously signing under duress anyway, but I just wanted to,
Please don't take legal advice from Jason. I don't know that was sound legal advice.
you hadn't considered that, like the whole like being arrested for Kyle thing, and instead of just like waiting it out like you should, they probably wouldn't hold you for like a week or so, but just so you didn't get held up. If you wanted to pay, they probably wouldn't give you but like a couple $1,000 bond, I guess. Who knows, which would only cost you like hundreds of dollars to get out of jail. And just put a squiggly line. I on certain things I've just put a squiggly line. Like when I accept my commissary orders, I just put a squiggly line because that's my signature under duress. And you could be released, and then you could, take the correct measures to.
Signed a question mark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You should.
What is that?
Yes, exactly.
And don't talk about your crimes on a recorded line. So this is how we're going to get away with it, on a recorded line.
Semicolon. We're not sure what's happening there.
Use a semicolon.
Yeah. But I just wanted to call and touch base with you for a minute. Katie Gropper and her crew are supposed to come finish up with me tomorrow, so I'll call you tomorrow after I'm done with that, or maybe by tomorrow.
They are working tomorrow.
What's that?
They are working tomorrow.
They told me last week they were planning to come and see me tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, because there's no court because it's
Yeah, the holiday. I got you.
But he's in jail, so they can still come and see him at the jail if it's a holiday.
I got you. They're planning. They told me that they were going to come and see me, so I'll.
Good. I mean, I wanted to reach out to her and go over some of this stuff again. You know.
Sure, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, after talking to you and Jerry and what's come to light, all of it is just like. I'm also curious that she didn't mention to you Court TV, and she didn't mention it to Jerry, because I just talked to Jerry again today. So it was like, that's odd.
And he said, that's odd, because the captions were
It
wrong.
almost leaves this space in my mind, like she doesn't even know yet.
I wonder if he's saying that Chloe doesn't know that it's going to be televised, or I don't. They're speaking kind of coded.
I got you.
Remember, us women can't understand.
Well, I think that's probably the highlight of the whole thing is that it's going to be televised.
For sure. But like I said, according to John, we don't even know that it's not going to cancel the whole case.
Right.
Of course, if it goes through, yes, it will. Hopefully it doesn't cause full. I don't even know.
I got you.
For all I know, for all I know, it's the best thing to just cancel the whole thing and not even go through this. And all the games they want to play are just go.
Yeah.
For anyone that's new to this case, this group is very anti-government. And so that's probably why they're just like, they hope the whole case just gets canceled.
No, that's the thing now. Like, you know, for years it's been drifting, and then for these 2 months, I felt like I had to read on the whole thing, and now it's the last week and a half, it's just so fatigued now. Like, I just don't even, it's like so obnoxious.
Yeah.
Dennis Perry, you know, like, who's under the circus tent?
Well, I'll be in court on Tuesday, I have a feeling, and I'll call you immediately afterwards and let you know.
Yeah, but
so
you won't really know anything while the state's presenting. The circus tent comes later.
Yeah.
And who knows how many witnesses they got permission to have on Zoom. You know, like, I don't expect the state side is going to be very elaborate or take that long. You know, it's a pretty direct presentation.
Yeah.
And they get to the other side. I mean, if Kenny Torres is in there, anything could be in that tent.
Yeah, I know.
So Sandy Torres did testify. I think the defense called her. Was she called by the defense? She was the one that was harmed. Was that the state or the defense? Correct me in the chat. Did the state call Sandy? Or was that the defense? She was the one that he attacked, that he harmed. Defense, I thought so. Yeah, the defense was the one that called her. I thought so. And I think the defense called her to try to say that Chloe was trying to leave, maybe, because that witness saw both men forcing her to stay. That's what Sandy testified to.
In given the scope of what can Sandy Torres really contribute?
I mean, she's gonna say, I don't know what she's gonna say. Like, I'm looking forward to having her there and being able to speak on that matter in front of the court, because it's just gonna help unravel, at least on some level, the crimes that were committed against me by Buncombe County by not giving me a trial and holding me against my will.
He pled guilty, I think he pled guilty. He decided to not have a trial. He pled guilty. That county didn't do anything wrong. He pled guilty.
You're also like, how freeform is the witnesses?
Yeah.
Response. Like, I don't know how freeform that is.
Right.
So you're
I don't
planning
know.
to discuss some of that?
I mean, I'm about to tear these motherfuckers apart, bro. You already know.
I mean,
To the
Katie, did you already talk about that aspect with Katie?
Oh no. Yeah. So he said he took an Alfred plea, but that wasn't checked on the court document. So the state had, I think it was the defense. The defense had it, and I believe that box was not checked. So it could be a clerical error, but he thought that that's what he thought he did. But when the defense had the record, that was not checked on his record.
But I mean, dude, they're about to give me a microphone, Z. I mean, you know what I'm gonna do with it.
You don't have to tell me. Like, I just don't know how freeform it is. But
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't either, but I'm gonna make it as freeform as I possibly can until the judge cuts me off.
He did.
it's just I don't know like how much.
So both the state and the defense heard this call before court even started. So on the first day of court, I did not include that in my J1 video. I think I talked about it. I got confused. I thought it was Benjamin Bryan that was in jail and not Jason. I got that confused in my head on my day one video. So Jason said this, and the state was prepared. I think that's why they didn't even attempt to rein him in too much, because they knew he was going to try to say the things that he wanted to say, but he was probably going to slip up. Like, to me, he's overly confident, thinking that he's hurting the state when he was probably helping them. He made the group sound completely out there, especially with the 168,000 souls, and there aren't really however many million people in New York because you can't physically count them. Like, he sounded what some of the experts might call delusional. Like, he sounded out there.
Kind of a weird sequencing because like, okay, that's already like well baked into the case to talk about it, but let's say they called me at this point, and they haven't called Gabriella yet. This is all going to come up later. It's just like this weird element because it's like court about me, but it's not about me. So it's like I'm not on trial, but it's.
Aw, Z. Aw. He thinks it's about him and not Chloe. Aw. Because the defense did call Gabriella. That was the ex that was called, the one who was able to escape. I wish her all the best with her and her new partner, and I hope that her husband's able to adopt her kiddo and that his parental, I don't know. So that's just, it sounds like that would be good for her, and just my own personal thoughts.
It's like I am, because I'm going to be the exhibit, and just like wanting the ability to, there's not a lot of motility for me as a witness and somehow like a defendant. Like for her to speak and speak after it or no to speak before it about things that I would just like say, where it's like, so how'd that work out for you, Gabriella, when you said very similar things, that you whispered in Kawani's ear?
And they call Chloe Kawani. That's what they call Chloe.
But I just find, on just like a pretty rapidly unraveling level that Sandra Torres is a non-credible witness at like a very high magnitude who has.
Their perception is so off because I thought Sandra Torres came off credible. She didn't come off not credible to me. Jason came off not credible. I didn't believe a word he said. Like, I think there was some truth sprinkled in places, but when he's like, Z was loving and I never saw him even rate, I don't know, like, I didn't believe Jason.
I feel like,
an extreme propensity to lie about everything and anything under the sun.
man, I just feel like it's a blessing in disguise. I'm hoping to try to turn it into that at least anyway. Like, I'm like, hell yeah. I mean, honestly, Z, I know where you're at, but I'm like, I want everybody to be there. I want my opportunity to speak on every single one of them.
Wait, you guys forgot Daffy Duck. Hold on.
Yeah, I know. You remember that girl that we met that one time on the beach? And we were like, hey, we had talked for like 2 minutes. Yeah, she's going to be there. So like, no, I'm making it. I'm just being facetious. Oh,
This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
this guy who's my cellmate in here, he's going to be there too. Like, he's known me for like a day now. Yeah.
It's just, like if these people like Trethewey reached out to her way back, I mean, like.
So that's where I think his beliefs made Chloe's insanity defense. I think he hurt her case. If there hadn't been the cult and all of that, like, they had odd beliefs. They had very weird things going on. That's just what they believed. I'll never get over like, can I ever drink something yellow on stream ever again? Like, you'll have to let me drink yellow stuff.
It's just they might not be like that ridiculous, but also like they seem pretty petty. So
yeah,
who knows how big a test they want to open up, and Jerry just indicated the judges, like, them having to say words like these people are very fed up with this. It's just like, how ridiculous is it? And it might not be. It might just be a couple of levels of ridiculous, but it definitely makes the mind wonder.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
This call will be terminated in 1 minute.
There's somebody trying to get on the phone, dude. I just want to get in here for 15 minutes and call you. I will call you tomorrow.
Tomorrow after you know things.
I love you very much.
Love you too.
Mookie, buddy. See you.
Agree.
They're confident enough. And
thank you for whoever mentioned that was available. I had not heard that yet, and I don't know if it would have ever showed up in my algorithm. I did link the original video. The original video is linked in the description. If my video gets affected for some reason and you don't see, like, if I have to snip out like that part, the full link to that phone call is down below. That was strange. But I thought, honestly, my bar for strange was high. It could have been worse, okay? Like, Emily, it could have been worse. Like, I was prepared for something just like, I don't know, that was kind of logical. Jason, I think is in love with Z. But maybe because he's their prophet, he has to. Oy, it's very strange. All right. Today was a very interesting day. Next Saturday, so the holiday's coming up. So for anybody that celebrates our family, so on Thursday, we're meeting up with some family, and then I think I'm going to put the lights outside. I do Christmas lights outside. I'm probably going to do that on Friday, and then maybe on Saturday. I'm not sure. and we will see. I'll schedule it when I stream again. If there are cases or things that you all would like for me to cover, please always make sure to let me know what the psychological question is. How are we looking at this from a psychological perspective? I am following the cases that I'm following right now. Oh, there's one out of Utah. I might have to, that might be my next video. It's like the Adelsons part 2. Gledhill, is that how you say it? Gledhill? Thomas Gledhill was because Rosa. Oh, wait a minute, sorry. So those are the parents. Thomas Gledhill is the wife's father, and her mother, Rosalie Gledhill, helped their daughter, Jennifer Gledhill. The allegation is that they helped her cover up her unaliving her husband. And so that will probably be the next one that I cover. The courts have appropriately restricted her contact with her children because they just want to make sure that nothing problematic happens. And this one's out of Utah. And I think they even searched like how long it took for Donna to get arrested. Like they have some interesting search history based on what I've seen on Law and Crime and Court TV and some of that other stuff. So I think that one might be the next case. We will see. We will see. But I hope y'all have a good week next week. I'm most likely not gonna go live on Tuesday, but you know me, I could just schedule something and I don't know. Like we'll see what happens. My normal schedule is Tuesday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern and Saturdays about 1:30 p.m. Eastern. I hope everybody enjoys their week and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.